Thank you very much. First of all, welcome everybody to the component of the CINR webinar associated with the Nuclear Science User Facilities Access Only program. I'm presenting today on behalf of our Acting Federal Program Manager, Melissa Bates, and on behalf of the NSUF Program Office. I'm Simon Pimblott. I'm the Chief Scientist for the NSUF. Next slide, please. The NSUF was established in 2007 as the Department of Energy Office of Nuclear Energy's first and only user facility. Originally, it was founded to utilize the available capabilities at Idaho National Lab, such as the Advanced Test Reactor, which is the picture on the right-hand side here. However, it was soon realized that there was much more of a demand for different capabilities, etc. And so the scope of the NSUF was expanded. Its focus is on the irradiation effects, or the effects of irradiation on nuclear fuels and materials. And its goal is to provide access to world-leading capabilities and to expertise associated with those capabilities at no cost to the user. The NSUF provides support for experiment design, fabrication, transport, irradiation, post-irradiation examination, and the disposition of waste after experiments have been performed. This access is provided by open competitive proposal processes, of which we have two. First of all is the part that we're addressing today, which is access to the Consolidated Innovative Nuclear Research FOA. This allows 5 different types of experiment: neutron irradiation and PIE, synchrotron and neutron beamline and PIE only experiments, neutron irradiation only, and an ion and gamma irradiation only, and ion and gamma irradiation with PIE. These proposals can span from 3 to 7 years in length. We also offer rapid turnaround experiments, which are much more like the conventional Office of Science user facility access. They're not part of the CINR FOA, but because they're of limited scope, about 50K in costs, and we expect them to be completed within 9 months. Both components of our access to facilities are open to universities, national laboratories, and to industry applicants. Next slide, please. The NSUF is unusual compared to the Office of Science user facilities in that instead of focusing on a single technique and looking at all sorts of different effects, we are a consortium of capabilities offering a wide variety of different research opportunities, ranging from neutron irradiation to ion irradiation and gamma irradiation, as well as post-irradiation examination in hot cell capabilities, characterization on beamlines, and of course, high-performance computing to model the experimental studies that we've just discussed. This consortium is based not just at Idaho National Lab, but at 19 different partners, as well as an international affiliate in Belgium. Next slide, please. An important component of the NSUF is the Nuclear Fuels and Materials Library. This contains over 6,000 specimens from various NSUF irradiation projects, legacy research projects, samples taken from commercial and from research reactors. The majority of these specimens in the library were neutron irradiated. There are a small number that are ion irradiated materials, and there are also, in most cases, pristine unirradiated samples taken from the same heats. The access to the Nuclear Fuels and Materials Library is through a web-based searchable database, which includes information about the material or the fuel composition, about the specimen configuration, about the conditions under which the sample was irradiated, and any publications that might have been issued associated with the particular sample. The actual specimens include conventional and advanced steel alloys, nickel-based alloys, ceramics, high purity elemental studies, samples of actinides, and a variety of different metallic and ceramic fuel forms, and of course the constituents of said fuel forms. Please contact the NSUF website to find information about these samples and to find out about access to these samples. Certain of them, such as the actinides and the fuel forms, access is limited to sites with appropriate capabilities. Next slide, please. This year, there will be 2 NSUF work scopes based under the NSUF 1 name, which are nuclear science user facilities access only proposals. These proposals can be led by a university, a national laboratory, or an industry applicant. This is in contrast to previous years, where we have also provided the capability to have research and development funding, as well as access to NSUF capabilities. So this year, to make it clear and to be very specific, we are only providing NSUF access, and research and development funding has to be available from other sources. There are 2 components to the work scope. The first one addresses the behavior of core and structural materials and nuclear fuels and the development of advanced nuclear fuels. The second considers or provides access to high-performance computing at the Idaho National Laboratory and the associated software that is available on those computers. The federal point of contact for both of these work scopes is Melissa Bates. The technical point of contact for the former is myself, and for the latter is Eric Whiting. Next slide, please. The objective of the NSU1 access-only work scopes is to provide the ability to utilize the capabilities of the NSUF for research projects that support the DOE Office of Nuclear Energy's mission, as is the case for the whole of this NEUP CINR award process. We consider 5 different types of projects, as I mentioned earlier on: neutron irradiation and PIE, synchrotron and beamline experiments or PIE, ion and gamma irradiation only, ion or gamma irradiation and PIE, and then finally computational projects utilizing the INL high performance computing capabilities. The restrictions are as follows. First of all, R&D support for the applicant is not provided in these applications. Secondly, the source and scope and duration of the R&D funding must be identified. And finally, to emphasize, the NSUF does not provide travel funds, salaries, or other user costs. In other words, access follows the same model as all of the Office of Science user facilities. Next slide, please. Returning to the first of the 2 work scope areas, which is the behavior of core and structural materials and nuclear fuels and studies of advanced nuclear fuels. This particular work scope is focused on fundamental understanding of radiation effects on core and structural materials and on the behavior of nuclear fuels, including the cladding, in a reactor environment. It's also interested or concerned with research into advanced nuclear fuels and improving the performance of current fuels. Areas of interest include materials aging and degradation mechanisms, testing alternate and radiation resistant or radiation tolerant materials for application in current and in future fission reactors, and materials for alternate and advanced available to us now from alternate and advanced manufacturing techniques such as welding, joining, and additive manufacturing. A second area of significant interest is the chemistry and the physics of nuclear fuels and other radioactive materials, irradiation and thermal effects on microstructure development, and on the effects of microstructure, for example, on thermophysical and thermomechanical properties, as well as chemical interactions. Next slide, please. These projects may involve research in areas of fuels and materials irradiation performance, and also in the combined effects of irradiation in environment on the fuels and materials. However, irradiation must be a component of the study. Advanced fuel types extend to fast spectrum transmutation systems, to triso-like coated fuel particles, to robust accident tolerant fuels for light water reactors, and to fuels for small modular, micro, and other advanced reactor concepts. Activities can be aimed at irradiation experiments and at post-irradiation studies, so examination and characterization, and they may investigate fundamental aspects of fuel performance, such as radiation damage, amorphization, restructuring, species diffusion and migration, and finally fission product behavior. Separate effects testing focused on validation of specific modeling and simulation issues is encouraged, especially where it involves modeling using the INL code suite of animal codes, as I call them. That's marmot, bison, etc. Proposals that advocate duplicating previous or ongoing NSUF supported irradiation studies will not be considered. This is simply a case of sending additional taxpayer dollars after experiments that have already been underway. A complete list of the available NSUF awards made during the period 2017 to 2022 is available under the R&D flag on the website neup.inl.gov. Next slide, please. The second work scope associated with NSUF access is to provide access to high-performance computing at Idaho National Lab. This makes available the three different computational capabilities at the laboratory, that is Sawtooth, Lemhi, and Hoodoo. Proposals in this area may address a wide range of activities ranging from studies of the performance of materials under harsh reactor environments such as irradiation and high temperatures and high pressures, for instance, if you're also considering water-cooled reactors, performance of existing light water reactors and advanced nuclear reactors, and the development of multi-scale, multi-physics analysis of nuclear fuel performance. The support includes not only access to the HPC systems, but also assistance with system logon, running code, basic HPC training, software support, and expertise as is required and as is requested. Available software includes an assortment of tools from computer-aided engineering through chemistry, code development, data manipulation, etc., along the list that is quoted here. Access to HPC resources through this FOA does not provide licenses to the software. That has to come from additional funds, or they need to be available already on the INL computational system. And the use of DOE-developed software, so in other words, software developed under the auspices of the DOE Office of Nuclear Energy, such as the NEAMS program, is strongly encouraged. Next slide, please. In terms of the INL capabilities, Sawtooth is the INL's newest supercomputer. It has a LINPACK rating of 5.6 petaflops, and when it was installed in 2019, it was ranked number 37 on the top 500 list. It consists of an HPE SGI 8600 system, which comprises nearly 100,000 cores with over 400 terabytes of memory. The system also includes dedicated GPU capabilities with 108 NVIDIA V100 GPUs. The second system is Lemhi. This is a Dell 6420 based system operating on an OmniPath fat-free network. It contains over 20,000 cores and nearly 100 total terabytes of memory. It's rated at 1 petaflop, and when it was made available in 2018, it ranked at number 427 on the top 500 list. Hoodoo is the third capability. This is a Lambda hyperplane deep learning distributed memory system with 44 NVIDIA A100 Tensor Core GPUs and about 7 terabytes of total memory. The third thing that I'd like to highlight to you is the available storage, which includes 3 petabytes of disk storage, including a worm, that's a write once, read many times file system for data storage for use in multi-year archiving of data, which is now, of course, a requirement for all federally funded, federally supported research. Next slide, please. At this stage, should point out to you that the NSUF access only agreements require that upon award an NSUF supported project, the NSUF's user agreement must be signed before activities will begin on this project. Failure to sign the non-negotiable user agreement within 30 days of receipt of the user agreement may result in the cancellation of an award. This is a very important and non-negotiable component of an NSUF access-only award. Next slide, please. The NSUF also has a slightly more extensive timeline of deliverables or requirements for application. The first is a letter of intent, which is currently scheduled for the 14th of September this year. The second is the standard pre-application, which is on the 28th of September this year. The NSUF also requires a preliminary statement of work to be submitted by the 30th of November 2022, and a final statement of work which has to be submitted by the 25th of January next year. And then, of course, there is the full application, which has the same deadline as everybody else, which is the 8th of February 2023. And in all cases, it is 7 p.m. Eastern time that the particular document has to be submitted by. That is 5 p.m. Mountain time, which is where the NSUF program office is. Could I have the next slide, please? Finally, I'd like to highlight that the Federal Program Manager is Melissa Bates. Her email address is quoted here, and the two technical points of contact for the 1.1 work scope is myself with my email, and for the 1.2 work scope is Eric Whiting with the email given here. And finally, information about all of the INL capabilities that are available for utilization under the NSUF Access Only Awards is available at the website nsuf.inl.gov. Could I have the next slide, please? And finally, I'd like to thank you for your attention. And if there are any questions, I will try my best to answer them. And if I am unable, I will punt to those more knowledgeable. And if they don't know the answer, I'll get answers for later dispersal. Thank you very much. And the final slide, please.
Thank you, Simon. At this time, we don't have any questions. Let's hang on for just a few seconds here and see if any come up. And we're not seeing any questions today. So thank you, Simon, very much for presenting for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.